Hi there everybody, my name is Will Farcher and this is my friend Bill Clifford. And welcome to Spiritual Insomnia, which is Contagious Conversations. Bill and I met over the internet. We've never met face to face or skin to skin, as they say, but we've become very close friends because we share a common goal, and that is to open our hearts up and our minds up to spirituality in our everyday life. Today Bill's going to give us an introductory talk on uncommon thoughts and uncommon matters, and I'll hand Bill over right now. So it's over to you, Bill, and take it away.
Yeah, the spiritual insomnia that we refer to is not so much on the religious side of it as it is the spiritual side of the individual and the essence of who we are and what we are. And so today we wanted to talk about, Wolf and I had spoke about some time ago, and that was uncommon thoughts, uncommon matters is what we refer to it as. And common matters are everyday things that happen in our lives that we take for granted, and the way that our lives have been programmed for us, and we carry on in a common way. An uncommon thought on a common matter is taking a common matter, something that we take for granted, and putting a spin onto it and taking a look at it. Oftentimes, Wolf and I, when we're having our conversations, we'll look at things not just two-sided, but almost octagonally. We look around at all sides of something and we dissect it. And I guess this you could base this whole thing on inquiry. And so what we do is, rather than analyze and paralyze ourselves, we just inquire, and we have a common ground that we meet on. And an uncommon thought, uncommon matter today that we wanted to talk about was the grieving process. Now, the reason the grieving process serves an importance to me was when I lost my father some time ago, I wanted to know why I was suffering and why I was feeling anxious and frustrated by what I was going through. In 1969, Elizabeth Kubler-Ross wrote a book called On Death and Dying, and I read the book, and as I read the book I began to watch and see the stages of the process I'm in. Now, the stages that she brought to bear are basically 5 stages. Some will refer to 7 stages, but basically there are 5 stages, and they are denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance. And these stages are necessary to go through in order to get to the acceptance stage and remain there. Sometimes we'll vacillate between the stages, and we'll go back to anger, or we'll go back to bargaining, or we'll go back to one of the other stages if we don't stay in it long enough until it uses up its usefulness. And we get to acceptance, which is the most comfortable stage. What we're referring to today on this is those first 4 stages, how painful they are. And if you can see yourself in those stages, which is what I fortunately got to do, was to be able to see myself in the stages. And once I saw myself in a stage, I got through it quicker. And it was almost impossible to go back to it without seeing why I was doing what I was doing. And when I shed light on it, it dissolved. And it got me through the stages quicker when it came to the passing of my father. Now, typically, the grieving process is for the loss of a loved one. When you find out that a loved one is terminally ill, or you find out you yourself are terminally ill, that's a common matter. An uncommon thought is that we grieve every day, several times a day sometimes. And the grieving process can be applied to things in our everyday life. The loss of our hopes, our dreams, our desires, and our expectations. And that came to light for me when my bereavement process my bereavement period had ended, and I had gone back to work. I work in retail, and I had the experience was as follows. A customer came up to me and brought a flyer up and asked for 2 barbecues that we had on special, and they were really reduced. And it was a host buy. It was a buy that we bring in once in a while. We bring in a huge container of them, and then you can never get them again. But she wanted these 2 barbecues. So I went off on my search for these 2 barbecues, and I couldn't locate them. I looked them up in the system, and I looked to see if we could find them in other stores, and there was none to be had. So I come back to the customer, and I said, "I'm sorry." I said, "We're out of them, and we're not going to be getting any more, and all the other stores are out as well. And immediately she went off on me, and she went, "No way!" And she got, "You got to be kidding me! I came all the way in here from wherever it was that she had come from." And as soon as she said "no way," because I had been studying this grieving process, I went, that's denial. She's in this denial stage. And if she's in the denial stage right now, she's going to get into anger. And sure enough, she got angry with me. She started pointing her finger at me and said, "Yeah, I know what you guys do. You do this every time. You put some in a flyer, you bring a minimal amount in so that you can upsell us on something else. I've watched TV and I know the process. I see what you guys do, and I'm not falling for it." And I thought, well, there's the anger, and if she's in anger, then bargaining is next. And she segued beautifully into the anger, or into the bargaining part of the process. She went right into the bargaining stage and said, "Well, I'm a customer. Do you want to lose me? What do you have of equal or better value? I'm not leaving here with nothing. I came all the way in here and I want something here. I'm going to your competitor." And we didn't have anything, unfortunately, that was reduced even close enough that I could have accommodated her. The next barbecue was $200 or $300 more, and I just couldn't reduce it and take a loss. And when I told her that, she got into depression. And she put her head down, and I got to go home and tell my uncle, my brother-in-law. I believe the barbecues were for her uncle and her son-in-law, her uncle's anniversary and her son-in-law's birthday, and it was a combination. And she got to go home and tell the family, we're not going to have this. It was only 3 days away from this function that she was going to have. And she went on for a little while. In fact, when she got into the anger stage, she actually did challenge my heritage, my height, and my intelligence, but which is really typical of people to do. But and finally, she just said, "Fine," and she walked away. And to me, that was the acceptance stage, and off she went. And I don't know if she carried it on in the car or whatnot, but to me, that was part of her acceptance stage in that process. And you had brought a point up when we last chatted, Wilf, about whether you thought that she would have continued in something that might have happened. I wondered if you wanted to...
Yeah, well, one of the things that I thought was that she hadn't resolved the depression stage at all, and that actually what she had done was accepted the fact that she had been depressed, that she wasn't getting what she was wanting, she had experienced a loss, she was getting no further, so she was stuck in the depression stage, and then went off and relived that depression stage with her family, with everybody she met. I went along, I met this Bill Clifford, I couldn't get the barbecue that he promised me, I couldn't get this, the shop, I won't go back there again, and this would go on ad infinitum for as long as she felt that depression, as long as she felt let down. So she actually never, from where I saw it, was she accepted the fact that she had of her loss, but she never got over the loss. And yeah, I think right. That's...
And more than likely, I mean, I probably would have done the same myself and continued on with it. But as far as I went, as far as it went with me, that was the end of it for me. But one of the intrinsic benefits of being aware, not only was I aware of what she was going through, but and I believe you call it being mindful. Well, the awareness that was created because I was mindful of what was happening, I didn't get into my own depression. I didn't get into my own grieving, which would have gone, as soon as she went into denial and she got angry with me, I would have started my own grieving process and went, no way, why is she going off on me? I'm just standing here trying to help this lady out. It's not my fault. And I'd get angry, and I went, well, it's corporate. They do this, and I got to stand here and take this all the time and bargaining with them. Maybe if I explained to her that it's not my fault, that I don't bring the stuff in, and then I would have got depressed, and I would have went and said fine, and she would have walked away. And like her going back to her car and continuing to go through these stages, I would have gone and spoken to one of my coworkers, and spilled my depression all over them, and it would have just grown like a virus. But because I was aware, and because of my mindfulness, is one of the reasons I really wanted to share this with you. And when we spoke about it, we thought, well, maybe we could share it with other people. Was I didn't stay in those other stages, and I didn't share it with other people. In fact, when I finally did, a few days later, I realized that it wasn't a negative thing. I was sharing actually a positive thing. And some of them said, yeah, I had a customer do that too. And so they went on and tried it themselves when a customer went off on them. And they've even come to me and said, you know what, that really works, man. I created this space between me and them in this mindfulness, created this state of mind for me that I'm just watching you implode, and I'm not taking it personally, and I'm just watching it all happen, and I liken it to this moat that was created between the individual and myself, and all that tirade fell into this spot until it was done, and I went on with my job and didn't spill that all over everybody else.
Yeah, the good thing I see from that perspective is that it can protect you from the stressful situations at your work, which is a fantastic barrier you can put up. Unfortunately, when you're in the sales, you don't always have barriers put up. You want to take barriers down between yourself and the customer, so that you're aware of the situation, which means that you can actually have empathy with the customer because you're aware of it and you're actually not joining them in the hole that they're digging. So it's a very powerful support for the salesperson. You can move things further forward. And then the other point that we mentioned when we were discussing was how you actually found it of benefit when you were travelling to your work, not just at your work, which I thought was a fantastic story. If you can share that with us, Bill.
Sure. Yeah, that was an amazing thing for me as well. Once you see something the first time, it doesn't take very long for it to continue to pop itself up. It's like buying a car or looking at a car, and you've purchased the car. Now you see that same car all over the place, but they've always been there. And it's the same thing with mindfulness or awareness. I was actually, ironically, giving a speech on this grieving process one evening, and the morning that I was going into work, where I live, I can either turn left and go down through the city, or I can go right and take the highway. Well, sometimes the highway gets a little backed up, depending on the time of day. And the city, of course, is the city. You've got traffic lights and other kinds of traffic. And I was already running a little bit behind. So what I did, I did this coin toss mentally and ended up taking the highway. And as I came around the ramp on the highway, the traffic was at, not a dead stop, but a crawl, a really slow crawl. And I went, no way. Now, I didn't catch myself yet. I catch myself now, but I didn't catch myself yet. I went, no way. And then I got angry. I said, you fool. You know, if you went down, no, you got to try to take the shortcut. You know, if you went down, you would have been okay, but now you're going to be late, on and on and on. And then I hit this bargaining stage and thought, well, if I pull off to the shoulder of the road, I can back up. Maybe I can back up and get back on the street and go through town, because I know this is going to take forever. And when I did, I looked in the rearview mirror at the traffic behind me. And in doing that, I made visual contact with my own eyes. And when I did, it was like this moment of awareness hit me. And I looked at my eyes and I'm like, you're bargaining. And I started to laugh out loud. And I surrendered to it. I got right to acceptance right away. I missed that wonderful depression stage that we can all stay in, that black hole that keeps us in that state. And I pulled into traffic, and there was a truck in front of me with a couple of vehicles between me and the truck. And I looked around me, and I saw the cars and all these people grieving. I mean, I could see in their face they were anxious. I could see them grieving and trying to cut me off. And I thought, well, I'm going to see how much space, in order to get to work safely, I'm just going to back away from all these grieving people, and I'm going to allow them to get in and see how much space I can create between me and that tractor trailer. And there must have been a half a kilometer between me and that truck by the time I got to the ramp that I could take off and go into. But that journey was entertaining, not frustrating anymore, because I had caught myself in it, and I woke myself up, and I'm just watching all these people. And you know, I'm a bit embarrassed by it now, because it was a bit entertaining. But if maybe that's part of the awakening process, where you can see it and be entertained by the frustrations of other people. I don't know. That's something else maybe for another talk, it will. But when I got to work and I had to cross the parking lot, it was a big parking lot, I had a bounce in my step and a smile on my face, and I was okay. I didn't go in and start telling everybody about my lousy experience looking for sympathy and reliving the story, and that was something you touched on earlier. Was we relive a bad story. If it was such a bad event, why relive it again? And we do that.
Yeah, and we begin to wallow in it, and then the depression and the negativity becomes who we are, and we don't even like being around ourselves, never mind around anyone else that's in that state.
Yeah,
so
for sure.
That's a fantastic
so I guess
story.
The message here for me would be to people is take a look at it, give it, have a go at it, and if you can't be mindful yourself, I mean, I have people now that at work and in my life, including my wife, who, when I start to go into that process, gives me a gentle nudge, a little loving, gentle nudge, and says, "Hey, you're grieving," and I go, "Oh, yeah," and I smile and laugh because I realize what is just happening, and it can snap you out of that state, and I think that's what happens. We get into a state of mind, and we like being in that state of mind, even though we hate what happens with it. We like being in that state of mind. So,
yeah. As Mikao Usui, the founder of Reiki, would say, "Just for today, do not anger, and just for today, do not worry." And I think that really, it's the first step is being aware and being awakened and being mindful.
Yeah.
That.
So I hope this can help. I hope this certainly can help anybody who happens to hear this and they put it into practice. And if they do, we'd love to hear your comments at spiritualinsomnia@gmail.com. You can email us and give us your comments.
Excellent.
We'd appreciate it.
Excellent.
Thanks very much, Bill.
Thanks, Bill. I'll speak to you again soon. Take care, everybody.
Okay, bye for now.
Bye.
Bye now.